lovely. Welcome back to another episode of The Should Life. Before we jump into the juicy stuff, I'm so excited to share with you that my 12-week group coaching program called Extraordinary is starting August 30th. Extraordinary is for the one who's ready to discover who they are and why they're here. This is a coaching program unlike anything else. This isn't going to be me teaching you lessons. This is about you remembering what's been within you all along. I love being in group spaces when I'm integrating information because you are immersed in a community of like-minded people who are going through the same process as you are. Some of my closest friends are people I've met in group environments just like this. This is the program for you to give the microphone over to that quiet nudging of your inner voice, to know your worth and your value, to feel grounded and at peace with who you are, and to get curious about your unique gifts and purpose in this world. I'm so excited about what is included in this program, especially for the price of $555. It's kind of ridiculous, but this is the kind of exciting stuff that comes from me following my own inner voice. This is going to be a 12-week group program where we will meet every week so you can really start to integrate inner voice work into your own life. This group is going to be kept really small. I'm talking a maximum of 5 people. So you're going to have plenty of opportunities for individualized coaching as well. And on top of group coaching, each participant is also going to have a one-on-one 2-hour inner voice session with me before the group even gets started. Oh, and these sessions are $222. So essentially that makes this whole 12-week group program $333. Crazy, right? Anyway, I cannot wait to see what incredible transformations await this group. Deep down, you know what your intuition is guiding you to do. You aren't missing the signs. You actually aren't unsure, not at your core, not at the center of your being. You know if this feels like the next best step for you. Instead of ignoring it, trust it and step forward into the life that you desire and you deserve. I've also made payment plans available for you. Learn more and claim your spot by going to nomoreshouldlife.com. That's nomoreshouldlife.com, and I'll see you there. Welcome back to The Should Life. This is your host, Jessica Lee Labe, and today we're talking about using the inner voice to be more disciplined. Let's get into it. Hey, lovely. Welcome back to The Should Life. We are in season 2, and I'm continuing to talk about how inner voice work can be integrated into your real life. And I'm going off of questions that I've received from you on Instagram, and I'm really, really loving these conversations so much. And today's topic is unique. It's something I've never talked about before, and I really, really love it. So the question that I got asked was, can you use your intuition or your inner voice to become more disciplined? Is this an oxymoron? I love this so much that I'm singing. This is beautiful. So let's get into it. And actually, this ties into why the programs I have are structured the way that they are. So I love this. Because what I was finding, when I first started doing inner voice coaching, the only offer I had was my 2-hour inner voice sessions. Now, to this day, my 2-hour inner voice sessions are the only standalone service that I offer. Besides that, I offer like one-on-one coaching packages, as well as my newest offer, which is my group coaching package called Extraordinary. So when I first started and was doing these 2-hour inner voice sessions, this work is just such an honor. And I was just constantly in awe and gratitude of these individuals honoring their inner voices, showing up for themselves, and hearing this deep, expansive, abundant wisdom that they held within them. It was 2 hours of tears, of laughter, of balance, of a sense of peace that these individuals may have never experienced before in their life. And I know exactly what that's like, because that is my experience with my own inner voice as well. And so I can say that to this day, this work, it's just an honor to bear witness to the insight and the transformation that my clients experience. But I digress. So I witnessed these clients coming into a 2 hour inner voice session, leaving and just feeling ways that they had never felt before, feeling completely transformed and whole and complete, and like they had all the answers. They knew exactly what to do, because in these inner voice sessions, we ask the inner voice questions, and you're hearing directly from your soul on what is the next best step to take. What should I continue to do? What should I stop doing? What do you want me to know about this, etc.? So really big answers to really big questions. What I found was that if I were to go back to these individuals weeks after or months after their inner voice session, where they had received explicit guidance from their soul, from their higher self, from God within them, and if I were to ask them, like, how is that going? Are you implementing this guidance from your inner voice? Or did you stop doing that thing? Did you start doing this thing? Most of the time, the answer was no. And my mind could not wrap my mind around this. Now, I was in this, like I said, I was in this same position. I did the exact same things. So I still understood why it was happening, but it was very difficult to sit with someone's inner voice and have them receive this incredible download, and then watch them not actually like follow through on that guidance and kind of like fall back into their old patterns of the ways of the mind. And so I went to my inner voice about it, because this is what I do. I let my inner voice guide, my business and my life. And so I went to my inner voice about it, like, inner voice, what is this that you're showing me? Why is this way? And what can I do about it? If anything, like, are you calling me to do anything about this? And that is where my own inner voice brought to me the idea of the one-on-one coaching that I do now. And essentially the whole concept is like inner voice accountability. Like, you want to talk about an oxymoron. My mind could not grasp the concept of inner voice in addition to this concept of accountability or discipline, because it does feel weird. Like, it feels weird. It feels odd. It feels like those two do not go together. But what we're going to talk about today is how actually this is not an oxymoron at all, and how you can integrate this balance into your life. So this conversation also leads me to talk about self-leadership and how the inner voice and our concept of self-leadership tie together, because I do think that they are not opposites, but that they can complement one another in a very beautiful way to create balance. Because as we know, the mind is not the enemy. The idea here is that we live in harmony with the mind and the inner voice, and then us. So you are the observer, and then you have the mind and you have the inner voice. So it's like the three of you together. I think of this almost like the visual that the inner voice has brought to me almost reminds me of like the Holy Trinity. So the idea is the mind and the inner voice are working in a partnership. They're working together. But in order for us to get to this place, we have to create an environment where the mind feels okay releasing its grip just a little bit to allow the inner voice to come forward and to be louder and louder. And we do that through practice. So, this concept of self leadership, when I say self leadership, I mean it's kind of self explanatory in that we are talking about leading ourselves. How do you lead yourself? I want you to really think about that. In what ways do you lead yourself? Do you feel like you lead yourself at all, or do you feel like you just allow your emotions or outside influences or your thoughts or your fears to dictate how your day goes? A lot of us, if we don't have like an intention or a feeling that we are not striving for, but how we want, like what we want to be attracting and calling into our life, if we don't have an answer for those types of questions, we are just going to be kind of floating and at the whim of whatever is coming at us. So when we talk about self leadership, this is about really like having this conversation with ourselves is how do I want to feel? And I want to shift the focus away from, what do I want to accomplish? What are my goals? These are fine. These are not bad. But I want to maybe invite in some feminine energetics into the conversation, because the masculine energetic within us that is typically dominant, because this is more of the mind, is, when the mind hears self leadership, it's going to go straight to those types of objectives or goals or, very measurable data. We can also have self leadership in how you want to feel, the life that you want to create for yourself, full of beauty and love and joy and balance and peace. So, when we talk about self leadership, one way that we can kind of check in with, do I have this in my life or not, is let me ask you the last time that you wanted to integrate something new into your life, whether that was a meditation or journaling practice, or maybe a new like movement or exercise routine, something of that nature. Let's say you're like, okay, I want to try this thing for even a week. Or a lot of us do a challenge or an experiment for like between 21 and 30 days. That's somewhat common, right? So we're like, okay, every day for the next 30 days, I'm going to walk in the morning. Now, when you tell yourself that, when you speak it out loud, when you tell someone else that, hey, I'm doing this new thing, do you even believe it? Do you believe it yourself? What is the energy? How does it feel in the body when you say that out loud? Are you already telling yourself, well, I'm probably only going to make it to day 5 and then I'm going to stop? Or if I skip a day or two, it's not a big deal. Like, what is the energy within yourself as you set these new experiences for yourself? This is one clue into like where you are in your self leadership. Because if you are setting a goal for yourself and you're already telling yourself that you're not going to actually achieve it, then we've got some work to do. This is just bringing awareness. Awareness is key. We can't improve something if we aren't bringing awareness to it in the first place. Okay, so this is actually a beautiful gift that you're giving to yourself to recognize my self-leadership isn't in the place where I really want it to be. This is amazing. So this is also where we can bring in the inner voice into the conversation of inner voice. What would you like me to be integrating into my life? How often would you like me to be doing it? Is there a time of day that feels best for you? Now, a lot of times your inner voice may say like, let it flow. It'll show up to you when it's time, things like that. And that's beautiful. But it's also like continuing to check in with the inner voice so we can integrate our inner voice into our self-leadership. We can integrate the flow of the inner voice, meaning maybe we're not going to do the same, like maybe we're not going to have like a really strict morning routine where every single day I'm doing these 5 things in this same order and it's going to be 20 minutes each time. Maybe it's going to look a little more flowy. Maybe because what we're focusing here, what we want to focus on here is not so much the action and the outcome, but what the inner voice calls us to come back to is the feeling. How is it that you want to feel? How do you continue to attract and magnify that feeling throughout your day? So that's what the inner voice is going to keep calling you to. So that is the flow part of this. And the discipline part of that is, are you showing up to allow the flow to exist? Right? So can you see the balance here? This is very much balancing masculine and feminine. In the masculine, we're creating the container for the flow, the feminine, to actually exist. Like we can think of the masculine as the literal container, like the bowl, and the feminine is the liquid within the container. We need the container to flow, otherwise we flow everywhere. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. It gets all over everything. It creates a mess. It's chaos. With the beautiful container, the sacred container of our masculine energy, and remember, I'm talking about energies, I'm not talking about identities. There's a big difference. With the masculine energy, that is our sacred container for our feminine to flow. This is where we integrate our intuition, our inner voice into what we can call discipline. And ultimately, when we combine all of this, we create pure magic. So, along the lines of inner voice, intuition work, and discipline, there has been something that I've seen lately that has kind of thrown me. It's something that really bothers me. I'm going to be completely honest, and it's along these lines of what you're of this question, of the intention of this question of using the intuition to become more disciplined, and is this an oxymoron? So I'm just going to throw this out here because I really want to see your thoughts on this. I've actually thrown this out to my private Facebook group and I've gotten completely mixed responses, and I love it. This is where like I don't want to just be like speaking in a vacuum. I love hearing your thoughts on this. So what I'm seeing specifically in like the coaching space is what I've seen is containers have been created, whether it's a free container or a paid container. So what I mean by container is like, let's say it's a program of some sort. Maybe it's a free masterclass. Maybe it is like a group class or something of that nature, right? Okay, so that's what I mean when I say container. And a coach promotes it. There's like a ton of excitement about it. There are dates and times. There's typically like a schedule if we're looking at multiple dates that something's going to happen. So for me, if I sign up for something that speaks to me, I let my intuition guide that process. And so if I sign up for something, it's a fuck yes. Like I don't sign up for stuff that feels wishy-washy or that definitely feels like a no. So if I'm there, like I'm ready, I've got it on my calendar. And what I've seen happen multiple times is that like the day of, and please know, I'm not talking about this is happening like months, even weeks before the event. And I also know that there are extenuating circumstances. This is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about like the day of the event, maybe within 24 hours of the event. It's like we get this message from this coach of this date and time no longer feels aligned to me. This no longer feels like flow. I'm going to reschedule it or I'm going to cancel it altogether. This is, I think, where I see intuition and discipline. Like this is like the perfect conversation and the perfect question when I'm seeing this other stuff happening alongside it. Because for me as a participant, when I'm in that type of environment and I'm expecting, I desire to be led by this coach, this teacher. There's a reason why I'm signing up to hear your genius, when that is rescheduled or canceled because it's no longer feeling in flow to you, how that makes me feel is it makes me feel unsafe. It makes me lose trust in that individual as a leader. Now, please know I'm just speaking for myself and I'm not calling anybody out. This is something I've seen like many, many times very recently from like multiple different people. And to be totally honest, it seems to work for them. So it's like if it works, then that's their flow, that's their energy. And if it works, then that's great. For me, as a participant and as a leader, it would make me feel like I would be creating an unsafe space for people because I know how that makes me feel as a participant. I also know that I'm a Taurus and I fucking hate change. Any type of last minute change, like I've gotten so much better, but it still makes me like unnerved. I do not like it. That's why I say it makes me feel unsafe because if I have something in my calendar, I really want to stick to it. And when I'm looking forward to the information that you've been sharing that I'm going to be learning, I'm ready. Like my energy is ready, my mind is ready, my body is ready to receive that beautiful information that you've been saying that I'm going to be receiving. So I'm really curious and I'm genuinely curious if you have experienced anything like this with a coach or a leader or a teacher and how that's made you feel. Because when I threw it out to my private Facebook group, I got responses from other people saying that they felt the same way that I did. I received responses from people saying, you know what? I usually find that the updated date and time is even more aligned than the original one, which is very much in flow, very much trusting that the timing of that class or course or whatever is perfect. That's very much trusting, allowing, surrendering, flowing in the feminine. It's a beautiful way to run a business and to run a life. I also think that there's room for balance and there's room for balancing our masculine and feminine, especially when we're like running like a beautiful container that we've been sharing with other people. It's just a beautiful opportunity to invite in that self-leadership of doing what we say we're going to do while also flowing and flowing like once we're in that container. I think it's just a beautiful invitation to explore where our own balance is. Okay, this was such an amazing episode for me. I feel like this was very different than any other episodes so far. So I love that. It really pushed me outside my comfort zone, especially in sharing some really raw feelings that I've had in some coaching containers lately. My mind had a lot of resistance to that. I will be totally honest because my mind doesn't want me to not be liked or to ruffle any feathers. So I thank you for giving me this space to authentically share about this concept of self-leadership that I'm super passionate about, while also balancing it with our ability to invite the inner voice in to guide us in a super intuitive, feminine, flowy way. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. This is your reminder that you are enough, you are worthy, and you are loved. You can find me over at Instagram at Jessica Lee Labe and my website at nomoreshouldlife.com. If you or someone you love is a high-achieving woman looking to activate your inner voice and embrace your shadow self to claim your soul-aligned life, send me a DM and let's do this.